Welcome to the Daniel Boone Regional Library online library live event, National Novel Writing Month. You can write. We are so glad to have you with us this evening. My name is Sherry McBride Brown. I'm an adult services librarian at the Callaway County Public Library here in Fulton, Missouri. We're a service center of the Daniel Boone Regional Library System. Our presenter this evening is NaNoWriMo local municipal liaison. We are so honored to have him. I present to you author, writer, Sam Westhoek.
Hi there, I am Sam Westhoek, a writer, and since about 4 years ago, a published author who lives in Fulton. I'm here tonight to confirm that you too can use National Novel Writing Month as a springboard to write what will become your next famous story. What is this National Novel Writing Month thing, or NaNoWriMo, as we affectionately call it? It's a month-long, no holds barred, fly by the seat of your pants challenge for writing. It's been happening for over 20 years now and is still going strong, pandemic and all. Despite the fact in-person events like write-ins or pre-launch or thank goodness it's over parties are not sanctioned by the organization, we can still do virtual meetings like this Zoom to stay in touch and keep one another motivated. That's important because NaNoWriMo is predicated on setting a performance indicator and a deadline for your writing. We'll take the month of November to write 50,000 words in 30 days with 0 excuses. I'm going to help you get off your butt, your BUT, okay, your excuses, and focus on writing down the story that's been clunking around inside your head for way too long. The world needs your story because you truly are the only one who can write it. And remember, you can't edit what you haven't written. So you and I and all the other NaNoWriMo participants are going to write. No editing, write. No editing every day for a whole month. Then in December and beyond, you can take all those words and make them better. Then you'll edit and tweak and rearrange and make it shiny. You'll scrub it, clean it, have it dressed up in its best clothes for the environment, put on a bit of stage makeup, and then send it out into the world to live and entertain others. Does that sound like fun? Can you see the possibilities? Are you itching to get started? Then get your gear together, sign on to the NaNoWriMo website, and get in touch with me. First, about your gear. Pencils, pens, paper, a laptop, a PC, a smartphone, a sketch pad, miniature figurines, magazine clippings, and your favorite playlist to listen to. All these things can spark an idea and prepare you to capture it. Your personal muse will be so proud when you listen to the voices of your characters telling you their tales so you can chronicle their adventures. Always have something handy to jot down notes so you don't miss a thing. Getting all this written is the first part of the work, and you'll need to do to make your story real. Second, and this is a good thing that we're going to get together on this. Second, you're going to want to sign on to the NaNoWriMo website to be properly attached to this challenge. All you'll need is a little technology, and Lauren, would you show what we've got going here? All you'll need is a little technology such as a computer or smartphone, a valid email, a password that you need to come up with, and a username you want others to know you by while involved in this crazy worldwide affair. Once you've established the groundwork and set up your account, okay, the site lets you name your current project. As you can see, wow, I guess you've called up mine here. That's good. This is my current project, Empty Cocoons Part 4. I'm finishing up a long-standing novel that I've been working on. But you can set up your own project. It gives you the option to include a synopsis, and perhaps a short excerpt. And if you're a bit artsy, kind of like I was, it even lets you provide a mock cover for your book.
Sam, I think they're still seeing. I think they're seeing mine. I'm not sure.
Oh no, that was mine, I think. Or well, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Mine was up. I don't know.
Okay.
I was seeing it on my screen. What was the other thing? Oh yes. Would you go ahead and show the pull down region tab?
Sure.
Let me go back to this thing right here so I can see. Oh, I see. What had happened was when you clicked over, it wound up bumping me out for a second, but that's okay. All right, there's a pull down region tab. And the reason I point this out, under the community thing right there, there's a region tab that allows you to link into the USA, Missouri, Fulton region. And that's us right here in Fulton. That's all the writers that we have right here in Fulton that want to do this challenge. That way you can receive notifications of any virtual events or updates concerning the NaNoWriMo challenge. There's also the opportunity to get acquainted with writing buddies. If you take a look under the My Nano, there's the buddies, okay? And Lauren went ahead and accepted me as a buddy just for this demonstration. And you can see that you can actually link in with other people. And that way you can do that either here locally or around the world. And if you're feeling the itch to buy some cool merch while supporting the organization, later down the line, take a look at their online store for wicked cool trinkets. Now, are you going to call that up, Lauren? Okay, look at there. How about that? They have all kinds of nifty stuff. They have shirts, they have hoodies, they mugs, all kinds of stuff that'll get you energized and keep you in tune with, hey, I'm doing this NaNoWriMo thing, okay? So, you know, if you're itching to spend a little bit of cash and support the organization, yay that. Here's the third item, and this is the one I really can't stress enough, is for you to get a hold of me. Call me, text me, send an email, or let's go sit 6 feet apart in a public venue with our masks on. You just do me a favor of introducing yourself. I'm a personable guy, and I've been the local municipal liaison for NaNoWriMo in Fulton for the last 7 years. We haven't met yet? What's taking you so long? I'm right here. Okay, those are the big brush strokes. That was me extolling the virtues of the process. And what I want now I'm going to solicit you for questions, concerns, and observations. Let me hear you on the other end of the Zoom thing, okay? And I'll field all these questions, so just hit me up. Okay.
Right now I'm going to take a look at our chat.
Yeah, I see.
The questions that we have here.
What are some good ways to develop ideas for the plot of a novel, particularly if you are an inexperienced writer? Do you have a process or any tips for people who have never attempted to write a story of this length? Let me just point out something. We're all storytellers, aren't we? When we get together with our friends, we like to regale them with the things that have happened in our lives or things we've seen happen in other people's lives. So we have a tendency to want to communicate with each other about those things that have happened around us or to us. That's part of the storytelling process. And what you want to do is you want to find a way to take those images, those sounds, those scents, the feeling of certain things, and you just want to take the time to write that down. That is writing a story. That's writing a novel when you get down to that. How do you develop the ideas? You just look around you in the world. I mean, there's all kinds of things happening in the world around you. Look at the things that are happening in the news. Talk with your friends about things that have happened, because you can incorporate certain incidents that have happened to either yourself or your friends, and you can just build them into the story. Remember a thing that just made you laugh out loud. Put that into a story somewhere, because it probably can be tied into the human experience of the characters that you're writing the story about. Simple enough to do that. Process tips for people who've never attempted to write a story of this length. Well, I tell you what, I don't want to scare you away from it. It's a lot of work. It really is. But that doesn't mean it can't be fun in the process. You may be putting in work, but you can enjoy the trip along the way until you get everything situated, everything packaged together, everything pretty fied up, and then finally published. You just have to kind of stick with it. Do we have story writing workshops here at the library?
At this point, we're not really having in-house programming. Down the line, that may be something we'll look at in the future.
Right. So locally, we haven't seen too much of that, but you can find writing workshops definitely, you know, in other places. If you go to St. Louis, if you go to Kansas City, those are near enough at hand. I've seen workshops advertised across the country because people have stories to tell. There's just no getting around it. We all want to be able to record something that's happened in our life before, or you know, just things like that. We want to get it down on paper because we don't want to forget. Something was just too good to miss. So let that be part of your story. Workshops, if you're signed in tonight on this Zoom meeting, you've got some technology at your disposal. You do. So get on your computer and look around for the nearest handy workshop that you can find. Now, I will tell you this. Some of these workshops will come at a premium price. So you're going to have to consider your budget when you do this kind of thing. Are you willing to pay a large amount of money, sometimes in the hundreds of dollars, to go travel somewhere? And you know, you have to count the cost of your fuel for your vehicle and how you're going to get there, the room that you inhabit while you're there, the food that you're going to eat while you're gone for the amount of time you're going to be there. All these are expenses that will add up, and you need to be prepared for that. So just think before you get involved in something like that, whether or not, you know, your pocketbook is going to be able to handle that. If it can, more power to you. Go be with other writers. You know why? Because other writers will also energize you and give you, I don't know, they'll give you a pat on the back. They'll show you things that were pitfalls for them, things to avoid. They'll show you a good practice. When you hang around with other writers, you're going to get smarter about how you do your writing. So yeah, workshops are a good deal. Now, when we're considering that, I don't know if you folks have tried this, but just down the street on Court Street, a little ways from the library, hop, skip, and a jump, there's well-read books. And I'm pretty sure that it's Rebecca, isn't it, that owns the place down there now. And she has writers coming in for a writers group on a regular basis. You want to get to know some writers, and you want to start seeing how they craft their stuff and how they can help you, give you a little bit of wisdom, some tips and hints. Go there, talk with them, or call me up. Like I said, I'm more than happy to share what I know about how this happens. Let me see. I back up just a little bit. There's something about copywriting your story. Will there be any help on finalizing your project? I think this question has been fielded in my lap before. Is does NaNoWriMo have any rights to your story? They do not. As a matter of fact, they don't even see your story if you want to come right down to it. The only thing that they ask you to do at the very end of the challenge is take your manuscript. They ask you to take the words and dump it into their word counter. All it does is check to see that you've gotten 50,000 words above or below or whatever. They count the number of words that are in your manuscript, and then they let you know whether or not you actually finished and won. They don't look at your at what you've written. They don't edit it. They don't do anything else with it. They just give you a virtual pat on the back and say, good going, you did it this year. And then they adjure you, now go take your stuff and go get it cleaned up. So copyright, if you come down to the copyright part of it, the copyright is any date time stamp that you've ever put on a digital document that you have, or if when you're writing on paper, you just scribble down the date that you wrote this particular thing. That's your copyright. It's that simple. Now, when you get to be a big name author, yeah, maybe you want to talk with a lawyer and ensure that every bit of your imaginings, all the stuff that you want to hold near and dear because you have a set of characters that you've been working on and you've got a whole series of books about them. Yeah, talk to somebody in the legal profession about how to copyright that more effectively so nobody steals your idea and runs with it, okay? Can this project be like a memoir? Yes, this project can be like a memoir. But I'm telling you, if you've got a family history that spans generations and you've got all these little tidbits, yeah, you've got a lot to work from. If you're only writing a memoir about your own life and you've only been alive for like 20 years or something, be careful. It depends on how much material you have. To get 50,000 words, you're going to have to write 1,667 words every day for 30 days in the month of November. And that qualifies you for the 50,000 word target that NaNoWriMo Challenge is. So, can you do that for a memoir? Yes, you can. Easy enough, but you have to sit down, you have to do the work, and you have to bring all those ideas to the table and get them written down, okay? Should we have a theme planned ahead of time, or should we let it develop as we continue to write? There are nowadays 3 different types of NaNoWriMo participants. There's a planner who will sit down and do spreadsheets and graph out, maybe draw an entire world, write down the names and characteristics of all the characters that are going to inhabit that world, have a spreadsheet for the timeline that all these characters get to mingle and be amongst each other and the things that they're going to talk about. The events are going to be done in like a storyboard fashion, maybe. Yeah, that's a lot of planning. And that's what those planners do. Then there are other people who walk into this challenge and they're called pantsers. They fly by the seat of their pants. They had this little idea, the kernel of an idea for what they want in a story. NaNoWriMo kicks off and they're just writing anything that comes to their mind. And that's okay. That stream of consciousness writing is perfectly fine. You know why? Because that writing muse will sometimes completely override whatever, structure you might have wanted to have. If you're just cruising and writing, you're going to write some incredible stuff. A lot of it's going to be drivel and it could probably be edited away, but you will find those little nuggets and gems in your writing just because you let yourself go without any prohibitions or walls or restrictions, okay? The pantser methodology is perfectly acceptable. Get out there and just write every day. Anything that comes to your mind, add it to your word count every day. Log into the site, tell them how many words you got each day. Boom, you're getting closer to your goal of 50,000. Then that third category is right in the middle between these two. A plantser is what they call them. Somebody who likes to plan at least a little bit and get the rough framework of what they want to do. Maybe have, bits of information really locked down, but not everything, because they haven't written they haven't written the entire story inside their head yet. They just need to take the ideas and then see where the characters go still. A plantser is kind of like, I think, the best combination of the two, because you've decided on where you want to go. You might even have the end goal in mind, and all your characters have to do is find a way to get to that end, okay? They may be walking for a while. They may take some side trips, but you, as the writer, you're going to get them back on track and at least moving in the right direction every so often so that they finally get to the end of the story, okay? So yeah, you can do this kind of thing as you can plan it, you can just roll with it, or you can do somewhere, a combination of those two things. And as you see on the screen there, NaNoWriMo does have resources for prepping. Any other questions?
Let's see, Sam, we have one here. What's your relationship with your characters as you are writing? Do you hear their voices in your head when writing dialogue? Do your characters ever surprise you? When you're writing, causing plot twists to happen? I like that, plot twist. Ooh, to happen that you didn't see coming.
I won't necessarily say that I hear them. Yeah, sometimes in a sense I do. I'm more of a visual individual, though, auditory stimulus, that gets me too. There are a lot of things that I listen to. I listen to the way that people talk, so I can incorporate their patterns of speech and the way they handle words into the writing that I do. Yeah, it's a good thing to be able to do that. The relationship that I have with my characters is I don't want to leave them floundering for too long, waiting to have the story happen, if you know what I mean. I like to get in there with them, and I like to situate myself in the story and look at it from their different perspectives. And then, in a sense, as you said, let them speak and surprise me. In the novel that I did, the fantasy novel, Chasing the Dragon, that I've written and published, I had one character who was just a bit player. He was supposed to come on stage, be a foil for the Landsrager, and just to be a thorn in her side. And I recognized this guy, Baron Blackwald, had a little bit of talent behind him. And he's also a really nasty little character, and he would probably be a good foil later down the line as well. So I kept him rolling a little bit. I kept him in the story a little bit longer. And now I'm committed to putting him into the sequel of that fantasy novel. Who would have imagined, right? You know, so yeah, there things happen during the evolution of a story where you change direction a little bit, or you add, you know, another set of incidents or characters. Don't be afraid to do that. Why? Because it makes that story richer for it. Now, when you've got this whole NaNoWriMo challenge taken care of, you need to take all that material that you have gathered, all that stuff that you wrote down, you gather it together and you take it off to the side, away from NaNoWriMo, and then you do your editing. And then you're going to try to figure out whether or not those ideas that you put down fit well into the context of the story that you wrote. Okay, whether or not it's going to mesh well with that whole world that you've created, whether or not the characters are working right, or if, you know, yeah, that was a good idea, but yeah, that's taken away from the pace of the story. Let's just get rid of that. Don't be afraid to cut things out of your writing. That has to happen sometimes. NaNoWriMo is predicated on writing as much as you can so that you have something to work with, something to edit. Because again, if you don't write it down, you can't edit it, right? So the thing that I will constantly adjure you to do is make sure that you have a way to get your thoughts down in your phone, on a piece of paper, in your computer. It just needs to be somewhere where you can do that. I have scribbled on the backs of napkins and on paper bags that happen to be laying around next to me because I needed to capture the idea before it escaped me. That's the funny thing about writers or other artists, that muse, the one that inspires and brings those ideas to the forefront, can be a tricky and sometimes fickle little thing. So you have to be prepared on all fronts to capture those wonderful, marvelous ideas. I've woken up in the middle of the night with ideas, and if I hadn't had a piece of paper and something to scribble with on my bedside table, I would have missed it. So there you are. I mean, you know, do that thing. You ever just get stuck when you write? Oh, writer's block. Here we go. I tell you what, the only writer's block I want to see during this NaNoWriMo challenge is that writers, all of us writers block, BLOC, this group of writers that are here in Fulton. You will not suffer writer's block at all if you see it coming, you recognize it, or if just you're having a bad day with it. Don't write on your story, okay? Do not touch your story if you feel like you've got that writer's block thing coming on and you're looking at that blank page, like you say. What you want to do is just disconnect from that entire story for just a moment. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's called stream of consciousness writing. Whatever thought is in your head, that very first word, that very first idea, that very first image, write it, type it, scribble it down, and just keep on going. By using stream of consciousness writing, where you're just writing whatever is in your head, whatever comes next, and whatever comes next, and whatever comes next, get that written down, and sometimes it'll clear the cobwebs away so that you can actually concentrate on the story that you intended upon. Get the junk out of the way. It's like going out to your burn pile and getting rid of the chaff. You know, you take all the junk from in the house, that all your old, newspapers and stuff that you've been tripping over them for too long, take them out to the burn pile and just get rid of them. Same thing with that stream of consciousness writing. It'll clear out all the junk and help you to more easily focus on what it is that you need to be doing. Get back to your story after that, after you've gotten all the garbage out, so to speak. Other questions?
Sam, I have a question. What
Okay.
about diaries and journaling? Are those good ways to begin the process for those who may be somewhat intimidated with the guidelines of NaNoWriMo?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, diaries and journaling is definitely a great way to get your foot in the door with any major writing project. I'm going to tell you this: if you've waited until now to start the diary, the diary or journaling, it may be a little bit late. I mean, you can still jump into NaNoWriMo, do whatever you can, because whatever you write, even if it's not 50,000 words by the end of this month, if you don't get 50,000 words, don't beat yourself up about this. Please, for goodness sakes, don't do that, because any amount of verbiage that you have, any amount of words, any page of text that you have that you can look at and say, well, I wrote that. That's more that you have now than you did back then when you got started. Okay, it's just that simple. And if you do that, if you learn to get into the habit of, hey, I wrote that today, and then tomorrow it's, hey, I wrote this today, and just keep doing that every day. After a while, you've got a pile of all these ideas and parts of a story that you have collected. And then you look at that whole pile and say, there's my story. I just need to sift through it now and make it correct. I need to tie in all the things that need to be tied in. Yeah, I mean, it's writer's block is not something. I tell you what, if you feel like you got writer's block, call me. I'm right here. I'll talk it through with you and get you rolling again. There are all these different resources on the website too that address that. There are specific things about writer's block. If you're having a problem getting started or keeping your momentum, there's all that information there on the website, or you can talk to me. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm the local municipal liaison for National Novel Writing Month, because I want to keep you rolling with this. There's a lot of, there's a pride in ownership when you get this done. Think of any other project that you ever started on, a model kit that you've built, a recipe that you decided to follow, your parents asked you to help build something in the backyard. When you got done with these kinds of things, that project, didn't you kind of stand back and say, I did that. I helped with that. I put some effort and labor into that. It's something to be proud of. So do that. Can you print? I'll answer that thing right there, that question. Can you print your 50,000 words from the website? That's not what NaNoWriMo website is all about, okay? You keep your file on your computer, your phone, on your pieces of paper. That's yours. As I told you just a little bit ago, is the only reason that you take that information is you dump it into their word checker and it counts the number of words that you have. Now, if you don't have if you don't have a laptop of your own or, something like that, to send that document to their checker, then there's a provision to allow you to say, yeah, I did the 50,000 words or not. Okay, there is a provision on the website for that, so that you can do, yeah, I did it. I participated and I got this thing. So, but no, it doesn't print from the website at all. Other questions? We've already put up to, oh, okay, all right. I'm gonna hold this up here for a second, okay? Folks, you see that? That's me. I don't know if you want to copy down the address. It's long-winded, author samwesthoek.com. Notice the O comes before the E. And there's actually my phone number there. So there's a couple of ways you can get hold of me. Through the NaNoWriMo website, okay? As a buddy, I can be your buddy. You can hit me up via email, or you can call me or text me at that telephone number right there, 314-225-1680. That's going to get you the most instantaneous response from me. One of the things that I'd like to know from the rest of you that are actually engaged in this tonight is whether you prefer to have Zoom meetings like this. Skype is another option, and Discord is a way that the actual NaNoWriMo organization is doing most of their face-to-face or audio to audio interactions these days. So, you know, if the folks that are around here want to tell me what their preference is, hit me up either on the NaNoWriMo website. You can call me and tell me what your preference is, and we'll go with that. The best thing I can tell you is if you just want to meet, say hi, shake your hand, and of course wear our masks because we're still in this pandemic thing. It's going to be a good thing. I will keep you moving towards your goal of 50,000 words. And when you get all done here, you know what? Here's the thing. You're writing these different stories. I would love it if you would come back to me sometime later and show me how you tidied it up and cleaned it up and how good it is now. That would bless me to see what you've crafted for the time that you spent during these next 30 days to get your story into the world. I'd like to be one of the first people that read it. I'd love to be a beta reader just so that, you know, I can tell you, hey, that's working, or, you know, what's this all about? Give me that opportunity to read your story, because your story does matter. The world needs it. Let's see, Zoom. Okay, so a lot of folks are saying I've got a vote for Zoom. 50,000 words is daunting. Why would you encourage? Because that is the nature of NaNoWriMo, 50,000 words. And you know what? 50,000 words is a lot, but 1,667 words a day for 30 days is not that complicated. It's about 2 pages, seriously, 2 pages of text on a computer. It really is. And you can do this. You can. All you have to do is carve out a little bit of time from your daily schedule to do it. I'm trying to count how many times I actually won this NaNoWriMo. I think it's 3 or 4 times. I'd have to go back and look at my page. I've actually gotten the 50,000 words multiple times. Not every single time that I've participated, because life situations get in the way. And there were days that I did not hit my word count, but that made me push harder the next days to make up for what I missed. Right now, I'm behind the power curve. I started behind the power curve. I only got 570 words on the opening day. Come on, that's like 1/3 of what I needed. So now I need to write today's 1,667 words plus yesterday's extra 1,000 words. I'm obligated for 2,600 words before the end of the evening. And you know what? That's a deadline. That's a challenge. How many of you just roll over when you see a challenge and just say, I can't do it? Don't do that to yourself. If it's a challenge, stand up and say, I'm gonna beat this thing. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, you can. But do you have any tips for getting published for us? Okay. How long does it take to get there? Okay. I know that's kind of down the road, but do you have any tips for getting published for us newbies? There are a wealth of different ways to go in this. My personal preference, knowing that I would never get access to a major publishing house or have an agent or a legal team at my disposal, I took a look at the technology that we have today, and Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing allows you to take your manuscript and turn it into a book. You know, dopey me, I forgot to walk out of the house with the 3 books that I've actually published through Amazon Kindle Direct. I was going to bring them up, hold them up in front of you and say, look, this is me. I've done that. And I kid you not, when I got that first preview copy from Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, and I held that in my hands in my house with my name on it and my story inside that, I did a cartwheel across the floor. I was that excited. There is no other feeling in the world like that for somebody who writes and wants to get a story published. To see that thing that you had inside your head made real between the pages, between the covers of a book, to hold that in your hands, that is an exciting thing for somebody like me who just loves words, you know, and stories and stuff. Other tips, yeah, you can find yourself an agent, find yourself a publisher, But I'm going to tell you this, if you go to the vanity press type of things, and they're asking you to spend your money to get your story published in the world, I think you may be barking up the wrong tree. Too many organizations out there prey upon young first-time authors, or even older first-time authors, and they will take your money and make you promises like they're going to make you all famous and stuff. And your book will probably never see the light of day, or only have a limited run of publishing. And you're going to be wondering why you spent all that money for no real return. Seriously, you can do this independent publishing through Amazon. There are other independent publishers out there who are reputable and will help you get your book out there. As a matter of fact, if I recall the statistics, there's about a 30% of the market that is independent publishing. And look at what they're doing. They are blazing this trail for all the new and would-be authors in the world. And that's a good thing. You know why? Because there's not just one story to tell in this world. There are hundreds and thousands and millions of different stories that are good and decent and need to be out there for other people to enjoy, or maybe they're a cautionary tale for what not to do. You know, there are all these different venues for you to publish, whether it's independent or getting an agent and going to a major publisher and see what happens there. But if you're going to go with a major publisher, you better bring your A game, seriously, because a publisher will take a look at that first page of any draft text that you provide to them. If it's not written well, if it doesn't follow the guidelines that they set for a submission, the first thing he's going to do is say, nope, that's not what I asked for. And it goes right to the wastebasket. And you may or may not ever hear from them again. They're not obligated to call you back and say, you know, thanks for the submission, but I really didn't like what you did there. They're not obligated. They don't have to tell you that they didn't like it. It just winds up in the garbage. That was your effort. What do you want to see happen with it? Find a venue that suits you, okay? And don't pay people to get your story out there. Don't pay people hundreds or thousands of dollars to do that. It's your intellectual property, it's your story, and it belongs in the world for the rest of whoever wants to read it, okay? Don't get taken in by the wolves out there. Hang out with the good guys, all right? Other questions? Come on, there's got to be like at least one more little thing, an observation that you have, or you know, something that's just eating away at you that you got to know before we get all done here. It's either that or what time we got. Hey, you know, actually, it is about time for us to wind it up, isn't it, Sherry?
It's just about done. I just wanted to see if there's anyone else that had any last minute comments before we finish today. It's been going so quickly and so well. My goodness. Such a good question. Did we cover the one about the theme? There was a question there about
did I miss one?
Should we have a theme planned ahead of time, or should we let developers to continue to write? You may already have covered that.
Well, in a way I did. Yes, having a theme, having an idea before you walk into NaNoWriMo is always a good idea. Or, as you know, if the muse just strikes you on day one or even halfway through National Novel Writing Month and you still want to participate, don't be afraid to do that. It doesn't matter where you jump into NaNoWriMo. You can start it on any day. The thing to do, if you want to do this the way it's designed, is to start on day one and roll with it for the full 30 days. But if you find that you are more inclined to write even without NaNoWriMo, do that. Nobody's stopping you from writing on in your own daily time schedule. Oh, you're okay. Now here's, let's see, should we have a protagonist, antagonist, and a major? Oh, yes, that's typically, you know what? Unless you're doing some kind of a self-help book that's just going to have bullet point statements through it. If you're writing a story, you got to have a little bit of tension, a little bit of, you know, people warring against each other, or just situations. It doesn't have to be people against people. It can be the environment against people. It can be time against people. There are all these different things that your protagonist needs to overcome to either prevail, or if you're one of these individuals who just likes to see a bloodbath in your stories. You know, they all die at the end. Oh my goodness, is that the right kind of story for the world? I don't know. It's your story to tell. You decide, you know, what shades of gray your protagonists or your antagonists have, the extent of the conflict that they will experience, either around each other or without each other. You decide. Okay, I'm going to address this one here. It says, I'm an introvert. Is it hard to see your words in print and be critiqued? Well, yeah, but as a writer, the only way that I've really gotten better is I've listened to some of the people who were around me, and I handed them a manuscript and said, would you take a look at this for me? And they said, well, this isn't working. Case in point, in my novel, Chasing the Dragon, I had a horse that 3 times during the story was given the opportunity to go, drink some water. And I had the horse lapping up the water into its mouth. Anybody else here know anything about large ruminant animals and that they do not do like dogs and cats? A cow, a horse, deer, I think, even do the same thing. They'll stick their whole muzzle down into the water and they will slurp it up. They will suck it up into their face. I didn't know this. I had been on farms before and I wasn't paying attention. A friend of mine who bought the book said, you can't do this. I said, oh, you're right. So I went back and I did a revision in the Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing thing. I fixed it and then I republished it as a revision. Nice going, right? Thank you, friend. See, I mean, good things come of this. You don't want to look like a fool when you've written this stuff down, right? Doesn't matter if you're introverted or extroverted. You can tell I'm kind of an extrovert. And I don't like to make mistakes. So when somebody points out a mistake to me, well, what am I going to do? Am I just going to go, oh, no, I'm going to wither. No, what you do is you fix it. You fix it and make it better. Okay. Is use of MacGuffins. How many famous writers have you seen use a MacGuffin and their story is famous? Come on. Encourage, discourage, it doesn't matter. Does it feel right in the context of your story to have a situation that absolutely has to be resolved and it all stems from this one little thing right here and everybody's chasing around trying to get that sorted out? Yeah, do it. You know why? Especially if you make a good MacGuffin. If you come up with something that propels all the characters into action until the very last page of that book, it's a good MacGuffin. Don't turn loose of it. Hang on to it. Use it. When you get to publishing, do we need to hire an illustrator for goodness sakes, yes. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think I did a pretty good job of the 3 books that I did. I'm slightly artistically inclined, but you know what I'd rather have had? I'd rather have had a professional artist do an eye-grabbing, consciousness-grabbing cover that just draws a reader in because it's got the right kind of formatted text and everything on the cover, that my name is splashed across there so nobody can miss it. And the image on the cover captures somebody's imagination. Says, I want to read that book, because that's the first thing that your readers ever see, the cover. Then what do? They flip over on the back cover, they read the little synopsis. They might even go to the inner sleeves to see what people have said about it, the little extra stuff. But yeah, get somebody professional. Get somebody professional to do your artwork if you can, because you don't want. How many of you actually buy stuff that do you remember the generic UPC products that were in the marketplaces many years ago? This has been like 15, 20 years ago. White boxes that just said macaroni, and it had a description of the contents and the UPC. That's it. How many people actually really wanted to buy that box of macaroni with no adornment whatsoever? I'm going to go find the Kraft macaroni that's got the, that deeply blue box with the red logo and the lettering in there that is like the perfect little logo. And it tells me all the wonderful things that you can have when you eat this macaroni and cheese. Oh yeah, I'd prefer that. Yeah, your book cover is going to be like that mac and cheese that you'd rather have than something out of a plain white box that just says macaroni and cheese. Get the professional artist involved, if at all you can. And don't be afraid to save up some money for that. So that, and also if you can, work with the artist to get the rights to that image that you have on your book. It won't cost you terribly much. It won't cost you, your entire life savings. It shouldn't. But get professional help with something like that, because that's the first thing that a person who's walking through the stacks in either your local grocery store or at any of the chain bookstores, even here in the library, that cover is the first impression that you have. And everybody knows, first impressions can be pretty lasting. Anything else? We're going to wind this up. Sherry, your audio is off.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
Is it time for us to wind it up? Okay.
I think we're about winding up. It's been going so well. We thank you so very much for presenting for us to see. Any real quick words before we sign out? Real fast. We do want to thank you, Sam, for joining us this evening and sharing all your wonderful information and resources, and particularly your contact information. Do hope folks reach out to you. Also want to thank Miss Sarah Henry, our branch manager here at Callaway County Public Library, for this presentation as well, setting it up. And for Lauren Williams, who's our Adult and Community Services Manager at the Public Library. She's been phenomenal in helping us set this up as well. We thank you all for participating and the wonderful questions. And come by the libraries and visit. We have materials on how to write, getting started writing, writer's market, to kind of give you some background information. And we just hope to see you at the libraries very soon. And thank you again for participating this evening. And thank you, Sam. Hope to see you again soon, and keep writing. And we thank you again for all your great information.
Y'all have a good night now.
Take care.
Me. It's important.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.